The way that the Roman Republic died is such an interesting thing, because Julius Caesar, he's basically doing whatever he wants. He's running rogue with this army, conquering all these lands. And the Senate says, look, this guy's getting too powerful. He's consolidating all of this power, not just among, the places where he's at right now, but among the Senate and among the people and stuff. We're going to call him back to Rome, and we're going to put him on trial and probably execute him. And Caesar says, okay, I'll come back to Rome, and I'll bring my army with me. That's exactly what he does. So the civil war gets fought between Caesar and these senators that really want him dead. Caesar, of course, wins that. And at the end of that, the people who are left in the Senate effectively declare Caesar dictator for life. Now, when you hear that, it's easy to think, okay, so it was a military coup, and Caesar took power, right? He seized power with a military coup. That's not really how it would have felt if you were just the average Roman citizen. The legal aspect of it is the most interesting part of this story that nobody ever talks about. So, dictator. During that time, that was a title that the Senate would give to one man during times of war and chaos, basically saying, look, we can't deliberate and debate over literally every single aspect of this thing, so we're going to give one person the power to have the final say in what we do, and give him power over the military and stuff like that. And so that's the title that they gave to Caesar. It was just effectively for life, when usually it was meant to be a really short, temporary thing. And so Caesar, right, from the point of view of just the average Roman citizen, you don't feel like suddenly you're living in an empire now. You don't feel like you've suddenly lost all of your rights. In your eyes, Rome has been in a constant state of chaos for almost 100 years, right? Civil war, civil war, civil war, slave uprising, civil war. And now this guy shows up and he ends it, at least in your mind at that time, he ends it and he says, okay, I'm going to stay in charge until I either clean all of this crap up or until I die. There's members of the Senate that say, well, until you die sounds kind of nice. And so they kill him. They kill him. And a lot of people aren't very happy about that. So now you feel like the one guy who was going to fix everything and finally bring this century of chaos to a close just got assassinated by the people that he was trying to fix and get rid of. So another civil war breaks out, right? Caesar has appointed his nephew, Octavian, as his inheritor of all of his stuff, right? You're going to get all my stuff when I'm dead, and I'm going to officially adopt you posthumously upon my death, make you my son. That's his nephew, Octavian. Mark Antony's not really happy about that, but Octavian and Mark Antony kind of realize, hey, we got to work together because these senators are trying to take away everything from us. They're going to kill us, right? Because we are the inheritors of Caesar's legacy and his powers and his military. So another long civil war gets fought, right? A new triumvirate, Mark Antony, Octavian, and I think Lepidus was his name, some guy that nobody cares about. They effectively say, okay, we're going to come together, we're going to win this war, we're going to take out the people that assassinated Caesar. And so they do that, and then they carve up the Roman Republic, the territories of the Roman Republic, saying, okay, you'll be in charge of that, I'll be in charge of this, yada, yada, yada. Mark Antony goes down to Egypt, right? Because I think he was given Egypt. He goes down to Egypt. He's hanging out with Cleopatra. Now, Octavian doesn't like this because Mark Antony's technically married to Octavian's sister, and Octavian's just looking for any reason to get rid of Mark Antony. He reads Mark Antony's will to the Senate and says, look, him and Cleopatra are planning on carving up the Roman Empire and giving it to their children, or the Roman Republic, and giving it to their children. That doesn't sound very Roman of him, but still, the Senate doesn't want to declare war on Mark Antony because he's a Roman citizen still, even if he's gone full native and lost his mind and divorced a Roman woman for a heathen queen across the Mediterranean in Egypt, and had a bunch of kids with her and stuff. So Octavian convinces the Senate to instead declare war on Cleopatra for a technicality. Mark Antony, of course, does the expected thing and backs her up and says, no, I'm going to fight alongside her. I think 40% of the Senate leaves to support Mark Antony. Doesn't end well. Doesn't end well. Octavian, the Senate, I guess you could say Rome defeated these rebels, would be the official statement on that. And Octavian wins. He takes out Mark Antony. There's no one left. He took out Mark Antony, all the senators that fought against him. And that's it. There's no one left to oppose him. I think he killed all of Mark Antony's kids, too. And so now, Octavian's the only guy left. He has the biggest army. He's got probably the most money. He's got the most influence in the Senate. He's in charge of the most lands in Rome. I think Egypt, declared him pharaoh and gave him Egypt as like a personal holding, like he owns it now. And so the Senate gets together and they declare him Augustus, right? They give him all these extra powers and stuff. And now, Octavian, being smart, still trying to keep up the guise of the Roman Republic to the people and to the world. We're still just the Roman Republic. I've just got a little bit more power than I would have 100 years ago. He says, no, I am just the first citizen. Right? So now, if I die, whoever I decide is going to get all of my stuff after I'm dead is probably going to be the next princeps, right? What we would call them emperors. Now, back then, like I said, it would have just felt like it was just the Roman Republic, just the most powerful person in the room. Imagine if we didn't have a president and we only had a Congress that was ruling over everything. Now imagine if over time, the CEO of the most powerful company in the country also became a senator, and he became the most powerful senator. Well, he owns all the stuff. Think about WALL-E, the movie WALL-E. By and large, right? Everything's by and large. All the stores, the ship itself that they use to escape Earth, everything's just a company, right? It's kind of like that in a way. It's a really powerful person that happens to also have the most powerful position in the government at the same time. And it's only after the fact that we look back and we go, no, these were emperors. These were emperors. They wouldn't have known it at the time, but we know now that they had already lost their freedoms that they thought they had.